Listen, man, we got breaking news in the NBA right now, y'all. The Cleveland Cavaliers have officially traded for James Harden. I mean, obviously, this news has been percolating through the landscape for a little bit, but for whatever reason now, they have decided to pull the trigger on this move. This is big time news in the NBA, y'all. We got a lot of deals to break down and discuss. We have breaking news all over the place, y'all. It's been an active day. We are almost at the trade deadline. We ain't there just yet. But this has just been crazy. I got to keep it 100 with you. I want to break down this trade. Um, is a lot to talk about. I wanted to tap in with y'all on this. Like I said, it's breaking, y'all. We all knew this was going to happen. Who knows what other moves are next? Darius Garland is headed to the Los Angeles Clippers. It was about time for a change of scenery anyway for Darius Garland. I know everybody's excited for James Harden, but Darius Garland, he pretty much got pushed out. In my humble opinion, in Cleveland. Um, I think that Lonzo Ball, it could be next. They got James Harden now. This is what Cleveland needed. The Eastern Conference is getting ridiculous, man. It's getting wild. If you're a Knicks fan, you getting a little nervous here. The Cavaliers, they needed this. This gives them a little bit more of a punch offensively. Um, Listen, they've upgraded the position. Now with Garland going to the Clippers, it's just a different shakeup. Garland is just fumbling and bumbling anyway. He's been injured. He's dealing with all sorts of injuries. Who knows what version of Darius Garland that the Los Angeles Clippers is even going to be receiving. It's just been a nasty year for him, y'all. Shout out to Noble Knowledge. Shout out to Bumpy in the chat. We got breaking news in the NBA, y'all. This is another domino out of a series of dominoes that has occurred. It's just been wild. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100 with you. The Los Angeles Clippers are sending James Harden. It's breaking, y'all. It's happening. Um, it's about to go down, man. And listen, this guy Mitchell, he was welcoming this trade. He wanted this to happen. He wanted Darius Garland out of town, y'all. He wanted to see James Harden in Cleveland. But the report is official. James Harden's time in Los Angeles Clippers is over after 2.5 seasons. We're gonna break down this trade. Harden has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a deal that sends Darius Garland to the Clippers. So this deal looks to be straight. No, it's not straight up. It's Garland and a second round pick. So these are all of the things that's coming through. So Cleveland also gave up a second round pick in this deal to make it happen. This is crazy. James Harden, he's 36. Um, he's playing. Let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens now that James Harden is returning to the Eastern Conference. The West is just loaded anyway. I don't know why everybody want to go out west. Everybody can't win. We got to get this shit spread out all over the place. So James Harden coming to the East, it should be a shakeup. The Cleveland Cavaliers, like I said, they haven't got the production that they may have wanted this season. Um, let's go to the Eastern Conference standings one time because the Cleveland Cavaliers should have been a much better team than they currently are. Last year, they was looked at as possibly the best team in the East. This year, they find themselves in the fifth spot at 30-21. Now that they made this move, so let's see what happens. I think they needed to do something like this. Right now, you are basically in a tie with the Toronto Raptors. Toronto is in the fourth spot. They're 30-21. You got the Sixers, who's playing well right now. They're 28-21. So they need something to propel them to where the Pistons, the Knicks, and the Celtics, because those seem to be the top three teams in the East, and it's just everybody else. It's the Pistons, Knicks, and Celtics, and it's everybody else. Now Cleveland is trying to get out of that situation. Now with this move, does that do that? James Harden, let's see what he does. Let's see what version of James Harden we're gonna get. Is he going to come here and wreak havoc with the coaching staff? I mean, we just got to figure out what version of Harden we going to get. But we all know Harden wanted to move. He wanted to get away from the Clippers. He hasn't played in I think the last couple of games after those reports came out. He's averaging 25 points per game, shooting 41% from the field, 34% from three, 90% from the free throw line. His last game was against the Denver Nuggets where he put up 25 points. So this is the kind of production you get from James Harden. We all know what comes with that. Noble knowledge says that Zoe probably coming to Charlotte by Thursday for Trey Man. That's the plan. That's what it looks like. I wanted to touch on that today, but we wasn't able to get to that. Like I said, there's a lot of breaking news all over the place. I wanted to get to these trades because the Boston Celtics, we just talked about the Celtics, they just made a move. They traded for Vucevic. I mean, you got players just moving on out. I mean, this has just been an active trade, deadline, and we ain't even at the deadline. You'd have thought today was the deadline. So the era in Chicago of the remnants of whatever Lonzo and Levine and DeRozan, that's over with. As we could see, Jaren Jackson going to the Utah Jazz. Shout out to the Utah Jazz, man. They're going to be competitive. They're trying to be. That's what you want from a basketball team. Look at that activity for them. They go out and trade for an all-star. They gave up a lot. I like Walter Clayton Jr. I think that's going to be a big pickup for them, in Memphis. Ja Morant, I mean, what are we waiting for? I think that's obviously the next big move. We could expect Ja Morant traded by the deadline. So it's going to be real active, y'all. The activity hasn't even started yet. It's just getting going. But y'all let me know your thoughts. What do you think James Harden brings to the Cleveland Cavaliers? What does this do for the Eastern Conference? Lonzo Ball is on that roster. What does this mean for Lonzo? The reports out all over the place is that they're trying to work out a deal to send him to Charlotte Hornets. So it's looking like they want to do good favor by Lonzo. Now it's all up to Charlotte. Do they want to get it done? How they want to do it? What do they want to do? You got to think for Charlotte. I mean, this team is very fragile. Do you really want to throw off anything at this point? You might want to just keep everything as is. But listen, if it's a move to be had, go get Lonzo, especially if you don't have to give up nothing. If you just got to give up a second round pick, I'd do it. Lonzo's, you're going to get more from Lonzo than what Cleveland is getting. The Charlotte Hornets is trying to make a playoff push. You want to bring a guy like Lonzo in there who has played well, for teams, but never really got that opportunity to get to the postseason. So that's going to be interesting to see. But Cleveland, they still are looking up at the top three teams in the Eastern Conference. This move has not changed that. They are not. They're not the New York Knicks. They're not the Celtics. And obviously the Pistons is having one hell of a season. I'm not. I'm not too. I'm not. I don't really like Cleveland. Like that. I think that there's more things that got to be done. But this is a good deal. Shout out to T. This is definitely a good deal for both teams. You can't ask for nothing more. You know, um, but what went on with the Clippers? Because you heard Kawhi Leonard come out and say, "Well, if he gets traded, that's my guy, no matter what." So something tells me that something went on. It was reports that James Harden, did express that he wouldn't mind being traded. James Harden. But with Cleveland, it's like, does he get any closer to a championship? For a guy like Harden, it's almost championship or bust time. What are the Clippers doing? What are they doing with Kawhi Leonard? Why are they holding on to him? Why is Kawhi Leonard so, that's why Kawhi, he's never going to be looked at as, one of the greats. I mean, obviously he's a great player, but he's not going to be up there with the Jordans, the LeBrons, the Kobe's. Maybe not. Like I said, not even so much the KDs. KD is a little stage under though, But what I will say is because of his drive. He's not trying to demand that they bring in championship quality pieces. He's not demanding or threatening to leave. He seems like he's happy with that title the couple titles that he won. And listen, he could just sit back in LA and just ride off in the sunset. If I'm the Clippers, I try to get him up out of there. I don't know if he has no trade. I don't think he got no trade clause. But if I'm the Clippers, man, I mean, something got to give. Something got to give. You got to send him somewhere. Send him to Utah or somewhere. Send him somewhere crazy. Where he like I said, that's what needs to happen to Kawhi Leonard. He's done a lot to this organization. And Harden, I'm pretty sure, even though this has been a pretty relatively healthy year, um, you've seen Kawhi it's been worse. We've seen years where he ain't played at all. So let's see, man. No Bananas says Clippers wanted LaMelo, but they know ain't no chance. No, it's not happening now. LaMelo's off the board. That's not gonna happen. They should have paid, the price when they could. When they could, they tried to get LaMelo for nothing. A lot of these teams are trying to cash in. And the Charlotte Hornets, they around LaMelo all the time, so they know what he brings to the table. You got to be very cautious before you just unload a player for nothing out of emotion. But yeah, man, this is breaking news. James Harden is out of here. He's headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What does this mean for the NBA? What does all of these moves mean? These are big time moves. Rap guy Clippers, we were right not to pay Paul George, who got suspended. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad for PG. But PG, he went through a lot. Shout out to TND. He says that Vucevic went to the Celtics. Yes, they've gotten better. They are positioning themselves for when they get Jason Tatum. They need all of the pieces they can get. I thought they was going to keep Anthony Simons, but I'm surprised they used him to make moves. Shit is crazy. Um, the Charlotte Hornets, I'm hearing, I heard their name in talks for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't know how Charlotte ended up in the race, but I'm hearing Charlotte, is in the mix. I don't know what's going to happen. Jaden Ivey went to the Bulls and Mike Conley went to the Bulls. So the Bulls, they made some moves. And I ain't gonna lie, they had to do a little something because Charlotte put a lot of pressure on the Eastern Conference. If some of these teams, if they don't do something, they're gonna be up out of there. Some of these teams got to do something. Atlanta, especially if they want to secure a playoff berth. Y'all let me know what Jaden Ivey what he brings to the Bulls. He's getting away from Detroit. Detroit was getting a little crowded. Kay Cunningham, he's basically assumed the reins. Let's see. LaMelo is flexing, right now because he's the only one who's earned his keep with his team. We very well could have heard something like this somewhere at another time, but clearly that's not the case. LaMelo Ball, when things was getting wild, he performed. He sacrificed his game. You see what happened. Hornets have to make a move to build depth. Maybe Portis or Desmond Bain. Not bad. I like all of those moves. I would love to see Charlotte get Giannis and Lonzo on the team. Yo, you talking about a W? That's what the doctor ordered. Now let's see if they could actually get that done. That's not going to be easy. That's not going to be easy at all. But this has been a good series of trades that have come out. James Harden going to Cleveland. He's going to be coached by Kenny Atkinson. Can James Harden? Well, I would like to know what that's going to look like. Because we all know James Harden. He kind of could be a little. He could sometimes sabotage things with the coaching staff. So I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, some way, things went a little left. But only time gonna tell. It's breaking news, y'all. Harden, Field, the beard. The beard is in Cleveland, the land. Let me know your thoughts. What y'all think James Harden's gonna do in Cleveland? Will he be successful? That's gonna be key. It says LeBron will come back. I mean, they talking like that, but I think it's too soon. Now, what is Darius Garland? I don't like Darius Garland. I've never been a fan. But you know, listen, you can't argue going to LA. So I'm not gonna sit up here and get upset if I'm Darius Garland. You going to Los Angeles? That's a good pickup. LA got themselves one, and Darius Garland. I mean, he's made the All Star team before, but I mean, I like I said, I'm not a big fan of Darius Garland. Give me. Maybe you are, anybody out there, but I've never been a fan of Darius Garland. Um, so I don't really know what he's gonna really bring. I think he can play a little inconsistent at times. And obviously him being undersized is gonna cause problems. But you got Kawhi there for I don't know how long. So let's see how long Kawhi Leonard is gonna be hanging around there. Um, Shout out to everybody. We got breaking news in the NBA right now. James Harden is headed to the land. Um, it's just been nothing but activity today. Um, Shout out to QJ Smith. He says that we have enough assets to get Giannis to the Hornets. Yes, you definitely do. I mean, I hope that that's the plan, to get Giannis. So they do have it. And right now, their assets are pretty hot. But who you moving? Who you moving to get Giannis is going to take more than Miles. You know, you might have to part with somebody. If I'm Milwaukee, this deal starting with Brandon Miller. You understand? We're gonna start there. That's just if I'm Milwaukee. And if you Charlotte, what do you see? What's going on? So I mean, that's just if I'm Milwaukee. What if you out there? But I'm hearing what they're getting from Golden State potentially. What the hell is that? So it is what it is. Something tells me that they're gonna have to give up one of their players. He says Bridges, Sexton, Williams. Oh, okay, that's a lot of first round picks. He says I don't think going after Giannis is realistic. Have to give up. Yeah, you might have to give up everything to get Giannis. You are gonna have to give up everything. It might be a little too pricey. I want to stay in bounds. We got breaking news in the NBA, y'all. James Harden is headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let me break down some NBA trades today because, like I said, Jaren Jackson was traded. It's just been nothing but activity all throughout the day. All day long, moves, and moves. I'm like, who didn't get traded today? Who's next? You know, um, that Vooch move is not bad. Because I think Chicago got their center. Not Chicago, Boston got their center for when they basically replaced what they lost with Al Horford. Vucevic is basically gonna give you what Horford was given. And Vooch, let's stop. But Vooch played well in Orlando, and then even when he went to Charlotte, everybody left. He had good moments, but I'm not. I don't know so much about the old days. He says Trey Man for Lonzo, and I'm cool with the Lonzo move. We need to do that. They need to stop playing this trade for Lonzo, man. Getting Lonzo down there with his brother. LaMelo deserve it too. I mean, he's played well for Charlotte. And then Lonzo's actually gonna be able to produce. You know, he definitely replaced whatever he was getting from Trey Man. And I just think that when he does get with LaMelo Ball, you're gonna get the best version of Lonzo. I think Lonzo could benefit off this the most. It is what it is. It's been active. We got breaking news in the NBA right now. James Harden is gone. He's headed to the land. Give me your thoughts in the chat. What does this mean? The projected starting lineup is James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Tyson, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. And for the Clippers, you're going to have obviously Darius Garland, Chris Dunn, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, and Zubac. I think I might like Cleveland a little bit more. You got to know James Harden is going to be able to help make everybody better. And I think he's going to have the basketball. But who could close for him still is going to be Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell can't change his game at all. In order for it to work. But I think that they still going to run into problems in the playoffs, but their ceiling has gotten a little bit higher. Because prior to this, with Garland, I thought first round exit. Now with James Harden, I think he got a little bit more aggressiveness. But we got to understand, stop acting like Harden has had his playoff woes. So he could always have an epic collapse. I'm not predicting that, but it always could take place. It's wild right now what's going on with these trades in the NBA. James Harden is pretty much one of the biggest and bigger names. Him and Jackson, so it's been active. John Morant, I think, is next. It'd be good if they move Kawhi Leonard, but I don't believe that's going to be next. Y'all let me know any other moves that's out there that could be on the horizon before it takes place. LeBron joining Cleveland for his final season. Now, that'd be a good look. It'd be nice if they was positioning themselves for that. Because I do think that could be something. James Harden and LeBron with Mitchell, let's see what happens. I think LeBron still got a lot left in the tank. And LeBron should want to come to the Eastern Conference. The West is just, come on, you're getting up there now. It's time to come on. You should come to the East with your last couple of seasons. It don't make sense to make the game any harder than it already is. It says Jake Fisher said Lakers are moving on from LeBron. Yeah, they saying that, but they're gonna have. I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. When they actually trade him, that's when I'm gonna believe it. I gotta see it first. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now. We got serious breaking news in the NBA right now. We got trades going all over the place. The NBA has just been active. Activity level this year headed into the trade deadline is crazy. We got stars moving. And I still think that this is just the beginning of the moves. I just feel like there's more moves coming. That's just the beginning. Rap guy says Tatum might come back this season. I agree. Let's see. Let's see. What happens? I something tells me that they shouldn't do that. I think that they don't want to rush it, and I think that's potentially what could be taking place. So y'all let me know your thoughts. Would you rush Tatum back? Because I think it'd be a rush. Let him take his time. Zion could be next. See, if I'm Charlotte, I'm looking for that Zion move. I trade Bridges for Zion. I do it especially the way the Hornets are playing. I think Zion could take him all the way up, take him to a level that we haven't seen, especially with LaMelo. That's key. Let, let's see what happens. Let me know about some other movies. Zion and 2 first for Bridges. Yeah, yeah, that's facts. Right now, Bridges' value is all the way up. You know, you could definitely speak on that. It's crazy. Zion and Zoe on the Hornets makes sense. Man, that'd be a massive play if the Hornets did something like that. And hopefully didn't really have to give up nothing. That's the move to make. I don't know how we're gonna see how successful they are. Shout out to everybody, man. Breaking news in the NBA. More moves to be made. It's just the beginning. I just feel like there's way more moves on the horizon. I take Zion for Trey Man, T.J. Salon, first round pick. It might cost a little bit more, but I'm with you. Though. I get it. Y'all let me know what does he bring to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What does James Harden bring to the Cleveland Cavaliers? Um, is LeBron James on his way next? You see the way LeBron James was in Cleveland. Is Cleveland building for a LeBron James reunion? You know, is that the ultimate plan? No Ronaldo says I'll take Scotty Barnes over Zion. No, yeah, Scotty Barnes and the Toronto Raptors they making a playoff push. You know, I don't see any. I would that would be crazy if they did something like that now. You know, they're actually looking competent. So I don't see that move. Shout out Scotty Barnes though. Shout out everybody. James Harden has been moved. Bronny, yeah, I could definitely see Bronny going to Cleveland. I think once LeBron James leaves Los Angeles, Bronny is next. You know, he'll be the next domino to fall. You know, I think that wherever LeBron goes, he'll follow. And then when all things hit the fan, Cleveland always have a spot for him. You know, but yeah, the report, you know, James Harden has been traded. It is official to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a deal involving Darius Garland and the second round pick. All of this is headed to the Clippers. So the Clippers, they get a little shakeup. I think both teams needed just a shakeup. It's time for change sometimes, you know. People wear out their welcome a little bit. And I think that's what happened with James in Los Angeles. You know, he's just been a journeyman. He's been all over the place. You feel like he played everywhere. You know, he's been everywhere. Oklahoma City, Houston, um, what else? Brooklyn, Philadelphia. You know, the Clippers. Now Cleveland. You know, so Harden's just been everywhere. Every time you look up, he's playing for another team. So I mean, that's very alarming in itself. You know, if you keep it all the way 100. But this is breaking news right now. James Harden is out. What does he bring to the Eastern Conference? James Harden returns to the East. You know, the East is, you know, people think the East is a walk in the park. The East, they play defense very tough. James Harden is still going to run into problems here. Mitchell, what I will say is it's not going to be so much of a mismatch. You know, it was times where Garland and Mitchell, they just couldn't play together. You know, especially where Garland is becoming a liability. You know, teams have figured those two out. So it was time to shake it up. Harden is going to be a little bit more dynamic. You know, and obviously he's taller. He does a lot more. I think he do a lot more on the floor. You know, he's a better playmaker. I just think he's just a better player. They've upgraded that position. They really have, man. And I think this is the guard that they need to give Mitchell his breaks in the playoffs. You have a guy who is going to control the ball, not a guy you hope. You know, you know what James Harden is going to do. He's the point guard. You know, he's going to be the point guard here. That's something that he developed into. I'm trying to think who instilled that in him. I believe it was Mike D'Antoni, you know, who really officially put him at the point guard. So a lot of people thought that was crazy when that happened. But the report was James Harden is playing point guard. And look what has happened. You know, they don't give D'Antoni these props. You know, there was like he's gonna be a points guard. He's gonna be this guy. He was good. He play make. He did a lot. So let's see. The Clippers. I don't see what are the Clippers gonna do, y'all. Y'all tell me your thoughts on the Clippers. Are the Clippers going to be competitive in the Western Conference? That's what I want to know. Can the Clippers, you know, can they're ninth right now, you know, and I think that this move for Darius Garland, I mean, seriously, James Harden to me is better. You know, they're gonna hype it up like it's an all-star coming, but I just don't see it like that. The Clippers are 23 and 26. The Blazers are 23 and 27. So it's tremendous problems here. You know, Memphis, I think, is pretty much out of it. So you really got to deal with the Blazers trying to creep in out west. The Clippers look like they hell bent for a play-in spot. They don't look like they're gonna creep into the playoffs unless they get a streak and you know maybe another team start to get on top. The Lakers occupy that sixth seed. You know, so this is wild. QJ Smith says if Harden and Brown don't work out next year, Brown will most definitely tell the Cavs to trade Allen and Harden for Kyrie and AD. I agree with that. You know, that's going to be something to see. We're going to have to see what that look like. If Harden and Brown don't work out next year, Brown will most definitely tell the Cavs to trade Harden and Allen. Okay. You know, we know LeBron going to be trying to get his guys, and I know he has a plan. I mean, wherever he goes, you know, expect trades to follow. It's happened pretty much in every stint he's went. I think except for Miami. Miami was the only team that you know didn't do stuff like that, just jumping on whatever LeBron would say. You know, Pat Riley made the moves there. He made the moves he felt was necessary, not because LeBron wanted it. You know, and that's why he clashed. That was the last time LeBron was, you know, I think truly coached, truly held accountable. You know, it was around that time. You know, he wasn't going to run the Miami Heat like he's done with these other organizations. Shout out Jake Simpson. We got breaking news. It's breaking news in the NBA, y'all. Y'all let me know your thoughts. Let's politic in the chat. James Harden is headed to his somewhat, I don't know how many teams, but Harden has been on so many squads, it's not even funny. We have to acknowledge that. How many times is Harden going to get bounced around the league? And what other team would you have liked to seen Harden on? Were there other teams in the run? The Wolves do want somebody. He says, Wolves, I don't know about they got the picks, though. If I'm the Wolves, I'd rather have John than Giannis just because John's younger and there will be, yeah, John might be cheaper, but, you know, they're going to have to give up some kind of first round picks. I don't think the Wolves have first round picks. You know, they got some young players that they can move now to make it happen. You know, they're gonna try to get Giannis, but I don't know. Hornets need to just stay younger. Yeah. But maybe if you could, like I said, if you could just give up maybe something, you know, not too expensive. You know, that's what you want. Also, teams gonna need to get some help from Giannis too. He might have to make it a little nasty. Pause. He might have to go in there and complain and really force his way out. He pretty much letting whatever happen. I don't know specifically, but that's what the vibes I'm catching. He should be talking about I want out, and these are the teams that I want. But that don't seem like that's happening just yet. But yeah, y'all let me know your thoughts, y'all. We got breaking news in the NBA. James Harden has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. In this wild, shocking turn of events. Nobody's seen this coming. You know, Nobody would have expected this to happen so soon because this really happened within 24 to 48 hours, where the reports just came out of nowhere that Harden could be on his way out. Nobody's seen that coming. That came out of left field. Let's keep it 100. Um, um, the Cavaliers, the reports out right now that the Cavs still eye Lonzo trade. They're trying to find a suitor for Lonzo Ball right now. So basically, the Cavs just trying to give Lonzo away for nothing at this point. That's that the way these reports are coming out. They just handing Lonzo out like a bag of chips. We're gonna have to get into that shortly. But Lonzo Ball, it's crazy what's going on right now. Where's Lonzo Ball headed? That's just crazy in itself. This is getting wild. In the NBA right now, it's getting crazy. James Harden is headed to this is crazy, y'all. He's headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers to play out east. Are they better? How much better? It could be I don't even know if it's a buyout. I think they're gonna have to move him, but they are very active in their pursuits. Um, that's crazy. What's going on? But that's the dominoes that have occurred with Cleveland. Let's see what happens by the deadline. If some of these people could be moved, some of these teams might be stuck with some people. That we could finally get the word on who we want to see. We want some of these people somewhere, but we don't know how aggressive some of these teams are pursuing them. So only time will tell, y'all. Again, this is breaking news. James Harden is traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is wild. James Harden is out. Shout out Coffee to the world. We got breaking news in the NBA. James Harden is headed to the land to alleviate some of that pressure off of Donovan Mitchell. We all know Donovan Mitchell just had to do just about everything, and then come playoff time, come the closing stretch, he just completely falls apart. So that's definitely something, to monitor. And let's see what Harden brings to the table. Shout out my man Coffee again. Noble knowledge. Says Melo needs to use his influence to get his damn brother. Yeah, I can see that. Um, yeah, this is crazy. What's going on right now in the NBA right now? James Harden is headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it's set up numerous domino effects because now you have to figure out where Lonzo is all in the, he all in the mix now with this. Lonzo Ball, is a cause and effect right now. Where is Lonzo headed? We hope is what we want, but something tells me that how aggressive is some of the teams. This is a whole nother conversation. How aggressive is Charlotte? If they really, it seemed like Lonzo was out there to be handed to now. Does Lonzo have any say so? What are they trying to get for him? Especially after you trade for James. So it's crazy, y'all. But can James Harden compete with these players out east? Can he compete with the Jalen Brunsons of the world, the Cade Cunninghams, the Jalen Browns? These are the people that we gotta discuss. What can he do against some of these people? What about Miami? This ain't the Western Conference where you run up 200 points a night. They're gonna be trying to lock down. So it's gonna be interesting to see what all happens here. Um, it says if we trade for Lonzo, Sexton can get traded for Claxton. I could agree with that. It's crazy what's going on in the NBA. The Charlotte Hornets, man. What's the activity level in this? Can they go get the brother? Can they go get his brother? That's the key. Lonzo Ball is just being shopped all over the place after this move. Current, right now, this ain't no BS. James Harden and Mitchell is going to take over the reins there at that guard position. It's going to be a mess, y'all. It's going to be a serious mess out there. Shout out to James Harden, man. I don't know what he's going to bring, to Cleveland. I don't really see them doing anything because, you got the New York Knicks out there. These teams ain't playing no games unless there's another move to be made. Detroit, they ain't playing. They're coming to lock shit down. So I mean, you see what's going on with New York. They got Bridges, they got OG. This is a problem. They ain't playing like that out west. Some of these teams they comfortable with James Harden going for 40. Out east, James Harden might score 11. This way he might really want to be a facilitator out here because people gonna be trying to lock down. But let's see in Cleveland. They need something. Is Kenny Atkinson the coach? Something tells me they're gonna run Kenny Atkinson out the door. Now they heavily invested in Harden. They didn't pay. They brought him in. They traded Garland. And I think they got a lot for Garland because Garland, his injuries was just getting wild. Because I would say Claxton would be a great move. Hornets need to have a deep bench if they want a playoff run. Let's see. If we trade for Lonzo, shout out to Q John. Atkinson will be replaced. I could see LeBron. I could see if LeBron come there, Atkinson is definitely out the door. If LeBron get out there, Atkinson is really out the door. So it's just crazy right now what's going on. James Harden, the electrifying, player, the beard. This is Harden. What's going to happen with James Harden? What does the future hold for James Harden? We shall see, y'all. Mitchell really made a mistake, though. Mitchell should have took his ass to New York when he had the chance. Mitchell was supposed to be in New York with Jalen Brunson. But, he pulled a Giannis where, you just want to be traded. I don't think you giving the real teams, you giving a little list, but you just really want to be traded. You're gonna have to get a little bit more specific so things can get done. And that's why Mitchell has had a rough time. The Knicks, they went to the conference finals, and they got Harden. Like I said, for a team that has always been struggling in the playoffs, you bringing in James Harden, He has his struggles in the playoffs. He can fall apart and then completely collapse too. So we're gonna find out. Let's just wonder what the Timberwolves are gonna do. That's a good question. What are all of these teams gonna do? We're gonna find out. It's breaking news, y'all. We got breaking news in the NBA. James Harden is headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's going to send a domino of effects. Teams got to make moves now. What about Philly? If if you out there, everybody that's in the Eastern Conference, the, the Eastern Conference is getting wild. If you're looking, the Cleveland Cavaliers are fifth. You got the Sixers right there at six, and seventh is the Heat. The Heat is in talks for John Morant. So the East is just getting wild. And we ain't even at All-Star break. So I'm not surprised that we seeing all this activity with movement and players just going all over the place. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. But this has just been a long, active day of events. The trades have just been going off all day long. And like I said, something tells me something else is gonna happen before the night is over. I wonder who else is next. John Moran is clearly next. I mean, now that's evident. Um, I want to break down this move. I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but the Jazz, they acquired All-Star Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies as part of an 8-player trade. It was 8 players involved. Memphis will receive 3 first-round draft picks. Rookie Walter Clayton Jr. I like Walter Clayton, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle Anderson. We don't know that slow-mo, all the things that he brings to the table. Taylor Hendricks. I think that's a big pickup for them. Look at this play right here, man. I like this move to get Walter Clayton and Taylor Hendricks. Themselves up nice to give up Jaren Jackson and get all of that. It's times where Taylor Hendricks, played pretty well for them. So let's see. I believe it was time they was playing him a small ball 5. So Memphis, they actually got a little bit of talent here. Walter Clayton, I believe, can be your point guard of the future. My humble opinion. So that's what I think is going to negate John Morant from sticking around. You got to give the keys to Walter Clayton now, man. And then even in his case, because I was following a lot of Walter Clayton Jr., especially coming out of college, and then eventually when he got to Utah, he need to be in his own thing, because you had all of this guard play going on out there in Utah. You have you got my man Key has just been cooking, and that's Keontae George. You have to play him. Keontae George is proven to be the starting point guard for the Utah Jazz. Undisputed, clear cut, no debating. And then you have Isaiah Collier there. This guy Collier, he ain't budging. He plays defense. He brings a different, style of play there. So I think, and also Keontae George plays good defense. So I think that, and George is slightly undersized. Walter Clayton, I'm just saying, you got a lot of smaller guards. Just they move Walter Clayton. and they proven to build around the guys that they had already. Walter Clayton was already a threat to what was going on. Now we could have said, why would you even have got drafted all these guards anyway? People thought Keontae George possibly was on the move, but that didn't happen. I like the fact that Keontae was able to get his game right and give Utah props because they are actually being competitive. This is a competitive move. They're obviously marketing, and these people ain't going to be going anywhere. You don't make a move like this, and something like that happens. It's crazy. You know, this, the trade deadline is just active. This is arguably going to be one of the most active trade deadlines, man. The moves are clearly being set up. Teams falling apart. We know some teams got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They got no business trying to compete. So, I mean, this is going to be very special. I can't wait to see Thursday, when the deadline is over, how the dust is settled. It's gonna be very interesting, y'all. Shout out to all y'all that's in the chat. You already know what it is. It's Flight Sports TV. The Charlotte Hornets. Can they be one of the beneficiaries of this deal? That's gonna be key. And that's what I mean with Cleveland. We're gonna get into that shortly. But Noble Knowledge says Ja going to the Lakers most likely. Why would Ja go to the Lakers? But I mean, I ain't gonna lie. The way the Jazz, I'm not the Jazz. I mean Memphis. They might have to give up Ja for cheap. The reports are out right now that LeBron James won't be traded. He's expected to finish the season in Los Angeles. LeBron has never even been traded before. So that's why I'm not. I don't see LeBron ever really being traded. I think it'll be a signing trade or something at the end of the season. But outright, just trading LeBron in the regular season, I just don't see it. He says, if we get Giannis too, yeah, that'll be a good look at it if Charlotte got Giannis. Some of these teams don't got the assets, to go get Giannis. If you Charlotte, I mean, after you got the whole team, what do you have left? Yeah, it's crazy, y'all. Shout out to all y'all. Salute to all y'all in the chat. We got breaking news in the league. James Harden is headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Noble Knowledge says they need another star because LeBron is out of there. Ja would be perfect with the Lakers. I agree. Ja would be. You know, a lot of people would be good on the Lakers. And you'll probably get the best out of him. With LeBron. Possibly. You know, this is a wild situation. What's going on? You know, the the NBA, man, this is getting wild. Stars on the move. James Harden, will he ever win the championship? That's the $1 million question too, man. Because it's about time for James Harden to try to go get that chip, man. But for some reason, that don't seem like he's getting any closer. And with Cleveland, I don't see him getting any closer either. Cleveland is not close to a championship. Not when you got those beasts out there. I mean, yeah, I'm talking about New York. So Cavs ready to do whatever it takes. I'm looking at some stuff online. You know, the Bucks right now are beating the Bulls. If you're a Charlotte fan, you know some of these things mean serious ramifications. Y'all let me know your thoughts. What is your thoughts on this big time deal with James Harden headed to Cleveland? What does this mean for the NBA? What's going on? Rap, rap guy reload said Cavs are in the mix for Giannis. They ain't getting no Giannis. I don't like no if you Giannis. If you Milwaukee, they should trade him. You know, they should trade him out west. What the hell is all these Eastern Conference teams coming out? Back in the old days, you know, that's what they did. You know, they trade these people. They don't trade. What kind of shit is that? Where you Vucevic and you trade him to the Celtics, but you trying to have one foot in and one foot out in the East. This is stupid. Why the hell would you trade him to a team that you may have to deal with? You know, this is just idiotic that goes on. You know. Some of these trades don't make sense. You got Atlanta trading Trey Young to the Wizards. Why the hell would you do that? The next season you fighting for them in the goddamn playoffs, so y'all end up in the damn say this is dumb. You trade Trey Young out west. You know, I mean, but it's just in today's NBA, you know, people. You got the Knicks and the Nets making deals. You know, it's just the league is just getting wild. So I don't rule out any move. I don't rule out anything that could potentially take place. You know, because things is just it's just awkward now. It's just different. You don't know where the move's gonna happen. Shit, they could trade Zion. They trade Zion to the to a team that's in the conference. We don't know what's going on. So it's crazy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, I think Popovich, when he traded Kawhi Leonard, he was the only one who held up the old values. You know, why would you trade? Originally, I remember Kawhi wanted to go to the Lakers. They wanted the San Antonio Spurs to do a deal with their rivals in the Los Angeles Lakers, basically gifting them a championship. You know, that's like the Knicks and the Nets making a move. You know, and they did. They made a move with Bridges, and they cost the Knicks a lot. That's why the Knicks gave up all these picks because the Knicks and Nets had no business doing no deals in the first place. You know, so it is what it is. So if a lot of people get Giannis, it's gonna be a problem. You know, there's a lot of teams in the running for Giannis. You know, it's gonna be a big year, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have trade deadline coverage for the people. I want y'all to stay tuned, you know, because it's gonna be special. Make sure you hit the bell on the icon so you know when we going live. So you don't miss anything. Make sure you hit the like button if you're new. Most definitely hit the subscribe button. It's Flight Sports TV. We have breaking news in the NBA. James Harden went to the land. Darius Garland is headed to Hollywood. Um, let's see what happens. I know that everybody's so caught up with the Cavaliers situation, but you know, what about the Clippers? I don't see how the Clippers upgraded. Like I said, I just don't. Let's see if Darius Garland could bring any new life into whatever's going on out there. Because at the end of the day, the health of Kawhi Leonard is everything. So if he's not healthy, no matter who the hell they bring in, it means nothing. You know, Paul George figured that out. James Harden has figured that out. And Darius Garland is dealing with a series of injuries himself. So they just got people hurt all over the place. I don't know how this is going to end, you know, but I want to thank everybody that pulled up in the chat today. listen, like I said, I got a lot more things to discuss. It's gonna be very active headed into the trade deadline. I repeat, if you're new, most definitely hit the subscribe button, and most definitely hit the like button. Peace and love. You already know what it is. It's Flight Sports TV.